BHEL on your screen, net profit coming in at 212 crores. That's half of what was expected. Well, it's a good thing that the numbers came out after markets closed. We're waiting for more on that. That's BHEL for you, 212 versus an expected 432 crores on the bottom line. I also did, while we were talking about stocks that did well and didn't today, I want to bring up crude and I want to bring up the 10-year yield. We finally have the 10-year yield back above 2% in the US, and crude prices are rallying another 2 to 3% today. So that's almost now the third or fourth day of recovery that we've seen in crude prices. 56 on Brent and 50 on NYMEX. That's what we're seeing today in terms of crude. Back to BHEL, but we don't have any more numbers as yet.
No.
Net sales, 6,078 crores, about 1,000 crores, 1,300 crores lower than poll expectations of 7,326 crores.
Not for the first time that BHEL is disappointed, so it will be interesting to see what
Not
kind
for
of
the first time, that's
market
right.
reaction it has.
At least they're wisened up now and releasing numbers after market.
Won't help them. At least tomorrow morning, there should be a bit of pressure on the stock. Prakash, BHEL, again, looks like on face of it, big disappointment. Year-on-year numbers, 212 crores versus 695 crores.
Yeah, I think, Anuj, this, if I'm correct, it would be the 10th quarter where they've kind of disappointed. So, really speaking, you know, this whole hype around BHEL being the first candidate to turn around with the capex cycle. So I mean, I was hoping it doesn't go into double digits, but then looks like, you know, we are seeing it as a proxy of the bottoming out of the earning cycle, and hopefully the government might kind of start spending something which comes their way. You know, the other problem with BHEL is that they are no more in a shape to command any kind of premium or pricing, you know, strength vis-a-vis, you know, competition. So unless the government comes up with some announcement which are to protect specifically some of these interests, it's going to be extremely difficult for them to play catch up with the global competition that is opening up. So my sense is there's not a great medium-term story. It could take much longer than people's patience could be tested out. Maybe another 3 to 4 quarters, and then only you could start looking at this to be a promise.
Okay, Prakash, we've got Pragya here. Pragya, ready with your analysis for BHEL?
Well, you know, you don't get too many...
Pardon, you don't get... Yes.
You don't get too many numbers on BHEL, so we'll just have 3 numbers to work with. We won't have a press release, etc. from the company. But, you know, not entirely surprised. Last quarter they threw a shocker. This quarter it's a shocker again. We always make very pessimistic polls for the company, but, you know, the business of this company is really under a lot of pressure. And the numbers for the 9th consecutive quarter now reflective of that. We were working with a 38% decline figure in the profit. It's come in at 70%, so that's really baffling. Even in the last quarter, the numbers were 70% below the street expectations. So, you know, all the problems... Yeah. All the problems on poor, you know, the power cycle is not picking up. They have a reducing order book. There is a slow-moving order book. There is the risk of cancellation now. 20% of the order book is at very high risk to some of these, you know, players like the India Bulls, Visa Power, Monitor Path, you know, where are there issues with the coal block, etc.
L&T should have prepared us for this, shouldn't it? I mean, no, look, it's the best-in-class company.
No, actually, Menika, you know, they are very different.
I know, but I'm saying if the best-in-class company is feeling the heat in this fashion, then you would expect almost everybody, and there is a big gap that divides the two, you know, and the differentiation in
I actually disagree with you on that. You know, on infrastructure, L&T has almost 50% of its revenues that come from infra, which is buildings, which is roads, which is a lot of other things, where you're starting to see some traction, some ordering. For BHEL...
And still a depression in margins.
No, but that segment has continued to hold up despite the slowdown, which has been the one beacon of hope in L&T's
pricing power. You're seeing a loss, you know, in your ability to profit out of that business. That in itself, so I'm saying if the best-in-class is feeling the heat, maybe you can cut some slack to BHEL and say,
you know,
look,
Menika,
we get that
L&T also gets
really
a lot
tough.
of its revenues from international markets. BHEL is an out-and-out domestic company. This is only a pure BTG domestic play. So, you know, the problems of BHEL are a lot different from the problems of L&T. L&T is starting to show problems now. BHEL has been showing these problems for the last 2 years. It will show these problems for the next 2 years.
Even if L&T
does that. There is serious undercapacity. There is serious, you know, capacity underutilization in the system now. You know, even if all the orders that the management talks about, even if they get fulfilled, you will still be working at 50% capacity utilization in the industry. And remember, for a company like BHEL, it's a government company. Fixed costs are extremely high. 50% of your costs are employee costs, and they can't do anything about it.
But why do you feel so pessimistic over the next 2 years? For instance, if the government does make this big push, you know, over this budget and maybe even the next budget, you know, in spending on infrastructure, in reviving manufacturing, Can BHEL recover rapidly?
Okay, let's talk about the product portfolio of a company like BHEL. What do they make? Boilers, turbines. There is a serious undercapacity in the system. There are no orders coming. The one beacon of hope that we spoke about were the orders from Telangana, which the company won roughly about 4,000 crores in the last quarter. So if you exclude that, there is no ordering that is really picking up. The management spoke about, a big prospective base of orders that has built up in the company. So they finalized 5 gigawatt worth of orders in the first half. They are planning to, score 10 gigawatt worth of orders in the second half. So that was the big hope of this quarter. And unless that, comes, we are staring at a big problem.
All right, we'll get to yet another expert voice. Ravindra Nayak, lead research analyst for Power, is joining us now on the phone. Ravindra, if you can hear us clearly, there seems to be even more disappointment with regards to BHEL's numbers, even though most analysts had already slashed expectations substantially. What do you make of what's come through?
The results are completely below expectations, significantly below expectations. The thing is that execution pace of the power sector is actually very slow, and the peak of the orders, the order picking also has not happened in this country, particularly power sector, because BHEL is completely tilted. The order book and order inflow is completely tilted to generation capex. So generation capex is becoming very slow for last, you can say, 1 to 2 years time. So it is not picking up, and also private sector investment in the generation capex is also very slow. So that is very disappointing numbers, very disappointing numbers.
How much further do you now push out any hopes of a pickup, Ravindra?
I expect next quarter will also be a disappointing quarter, but after that I can say from second half of next year, particularly in 16, things may improve, but that depends upon how the finalization or auction process of the coal is taking place, and how the private sector, the stress in the private sector, particularly the regulation of the electricity, are going to be changed, and the government policy initiative, particularly land acquisitions, that are going to take place in the coming 5 to 6 months' time.
Are you revising downwards your price expectations on the stock?
No, it is no point in revising downwards. It is already, from here on, we can see the improvement of the situation. So no further significant deterioration is not expected.
All right, we'll leave it there, Ravindra. Appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much. Ravindra Nayak, lead analyst with SBI Caps there, talking to you about BHEL. Are we done with BHEL then? Any more points to make?
No, just the BTG ordering is not picking up. There is no power generation orders, at least from the private sector. From the public sector, well, it will be orders from Telangana, etc. that come. The boiler turbine, the core segment. So you do a little more contractor kind of work, which is EPC, which is at a lower price on a per gigawatt basis. There we've seen some price stabilization kick in, but whether that trend will be sustainable for them, not sure, only time will tell. So there is a long while to go before BHEL actually. Remember, it's one of the lag, it will always recover with a lag. It's the last end. So, you get the power order, you get the land, you fix up all of those other clearances, and then you order, something, the product which BHEL makes. So, it's really the last end of recovery, and it's going to take some time.
We'll have you back in 2018 to talk about BHEL. Thank you so much for that.